This is troublesome. Looking at the appearance of Long Yuan, Long Yi's face turned exceptionally cold. Among the 3 Grand Elders that the Dragon Clan could still trace, this one was the least likely to help the Silver Dragon King. Why had this person ended up like this now? Both Grand Elders were at the quasi-9th reincarnation stage, their strengths balancing each other out. However, what worried Long Yi the most was still the Silver Dragon King. Behind him, a vast purple halo shimmered, and within that purple aura, it seemed there was the presence of another force. Long Yuan, you actually betrayed the Golden Dragon King and joined the Silver Dragon King's side. You really have no loyalty. The Golden Dragon King once enlightened you, and this is how you repay him. Looking at the figure before him, Long Tian's veins bulged as he directly cursed out loud. They were all survivors from the time of the Great War between heaven and earth. Long Yuan had been an unknown member of the Dragon Clan long ago. If not for the Golden Dragon King discovering and promoting him, how would he have gained countless resources from the Dragon Clan and risen to such a position today? The Golden Dragon King had great achievements and was the most outstanding after the Dragon God. However, in the years the latter has been missing. If it weren't for Lord Silver Dragon King, the Dragon Clan would have long since become an ordinary force. So, what's wrong with me, a Grand Elder, joining the Silver Dragon King's side? Moreover, do you really think all of this is a coincidence? Long Yuan sneered indifferently, but on the back of his neck, a profound silver dragon pattern coiled. The fluctuations and lines of this pattern deeply embedded into his flesh, as if it had been there since birth. So, you are a traitor. At this moment, Long Tian glared fiercely at the man before her. Her eyes filled with a savage rage, as if they could devour his soul. The pattern of the Silver Dragon King was something that had to be planted during the early stages of the dragon's life. Having grown until now, this man had already become a human puppet, entirely at the Silver Dragon King's command. Girl, let's go. I'll take you to collect the true will of the Dragon God. Looking at the tense atmosphere between the people in front of her, the Silver Dragon King smiled lightly. His laughter, as pleasant as a young girl's, echoed through the air. He raised his hand, leading the purple-haired maiden behind him. The 2 of them, like sisters, walked toward the golden stone tablet. Behind them stood a tall, muscular man, standing like a guard, following the 2 women. Silver Dragon King, several of our strongest 9-fold reincarnation stage experts have mysteriously disappeared, and this must have something to do with you. You want to enter the Dragon God Stone tablet? Then step over my corpse first. Despite the imposing presence surrounding him, Long Tian showed no fear in her eyes. Instead, she stepped forward, her anger boiling as she demanded, I won't allow you to speak my mother's name. Sensing the palpable killing intent from Long Tian, the purple-haired maiden beside the Silver Dragon King became enraged. A tangible purple energy rose from her, with a faint dragon figure hovering over her purple hair. The appearance and aura of the faint dragon figure were so similar to the Dragon God of Dragon Clan legends. After the cold voice emerged, both Long Tian and Long Yi's gazes were finally drawn to her. This woman had some similarities to the Silver Dragon King. Her purple and gold gown accentuated her curvaceous figure, and the faint sound of dragon roars seemed to emanate from the fabric. Behind her gown, a stunning dragon tail swayed, radiating with the power of dragon bones. But the words just spoken by this maiden, was she the Silver Dragon King's daughter? However, according to Dragon Clan records, the Silver Dragon King was extremely proud and had no spouse, so how could he have a child? When combined with the Silver Dragon King's youthful appearance, several speculations inevitably flooded the mind. Dragon God? At this moment, even Long Yi, standing beside her, was suddenly suppressed by the terrifying dragon aura from the purple-skirted maiden, causing him to collapse. His eyes filled with astonishment as he blurted out, who exactly was this girl? Why did she possess the aura of the Dragon God? The Dragon God's aura, even within the Dragon Clan. Only the Golden and Silver Dragon Kings possessed a trace of it. This girl was only at the 8th reincarnation stage, Yet she possessed such extraordinary power that surpassed everything else? What a troublesome bunch. Long Yuan, Zhu Kuan, leave this place to you too. The Silver Dragon King's gaze had remained fixed on the purple-skirted maiden behind him and the golden stone tablet ahead. For her, these two were the keys to breaking through her limitations. Her countless years of planning had finally come to fruition today. The peak of the 9th reincarnation stage? The position of the Dragon Clan's leader? How laughable. Compared to the Dragon God, these things were but specks of dust. Who could ever understand her great ambitions? As soon as the voice of the Silver Dragon King faded, Long Yuan and Zhu Kuan leaped forward, surrounding Long Tian and the others from both the front and the back. Long Tian and Long Yuan were both at the quasi-9th reincarnation stage. Since the 5 Emperors' ascension, Zhu Kuan, who had been missing for many years, now possessed power equal to that of Long Yi. With such a balanced force, there was no longer any hope of stopping the Silver Dragon King and the 2 women. But if they were allowed to step into the Dragon God's steel and interfere with the Golden Dragon King, the Golden Dragon King would be in real danger. Internal strife among the Gold and Silver Dragon Kings would severely damage the Dragon Clan, no matter who perished. Move, we must stop them. At that moment, a cold, murderous intent flashed in Long Tian's eyes. This was a battle of strength and a disaster. If the Silver Dragon King's plan succeeded, it wouldn't just be their deaths, but even the Golden Dragon King would likely perish. By then, the Dragon Clan's dominance in the Great Thousand Worlds would be completely destroyed by the Silver Dragon King. Moreover, with the impending great calamity and dangers everywhere, if the Dragon Clan lost heavily from internal strife, it might be wiped out by the extraterritorial evil clan at any moment. Clang! Long Tian's expression darkened, and the vast power of reincarnation within her body spread out like a tidal wave, always vigilant to every movement from Long Yuan. After countless years, I wonder how powerful your combat ability has become. Take this punch. In this tense standoff, Long Yuan's roar echoed through the heavens like thunder. With a vicious expression, he swung his massive fist toward Long Tian. The terrifying force drained the energy around the Dragon God Square, gathering into his blood-red fist, launching it toward her. There was even a strange light flickering on the fist. That kind of power seemed far beyond what a mere quasi-9th reincarnation could possess. Be careful, Supreme Deity. There's something off about this attack. In the distance, Long Yi, who was locked in a stalemate with Zhu Kuan, changed expression as he seemed to detect some unusual fluctuation coming from Long Yuan's massive punch. He quickly shouted out, "These guys must have received many benefits from joining the Silver Dragon King's side." Faced with such a terrifying attack, Long Tian's eyes gradually turned gray, and she stomped hard on the ground. A wave of gray halos spread out, and under her gaze, a massive gray figure materialized, protecting her from the front. The 2 attacks collided fiercely, without hesitation. The energy form of the gray giant collided with Long Yuan's destructive punch. Boom! The 2 seemingly terrifying attacks collided, but there was no explosive surge of energy, only a sharp sound like 2 boulders crashing into each other as they spread across the ground. It seemed like a terrifying blow, but both were merely testing their strength. The shockwave still caused Long Tian to stagger back a step, her body trembling. Even the gray giant around her showed visible cracks. In contrast, Long Yuan's fist remained unscathed, with only some crimson liquid flowing over it, making the attack look even more frightening. It seems your strength hasn't improved much over the years. Looking at Long Tian's struggling form, a smug smile spread across Long Yuan's face, and his gaze grew even more sinister. He knew that his strength and Long Tian's had always been evenly matched. If it weren't for the rewards from the Silver Dragon King, how could he now be so easily stronger than her? But none of that mattered. The Silver Dragon King's plan was foolproof. Even if the gods descended, they would not be able to stop it. In Long Yuan's mind, images of Long Tian and the other Golden Dragon King faction members being captured played out, their miserable fates sealed. As the clash ended, Long Tian's gaze lingered on Long Yuan's body. She scanned him briefly, then furrowed her brows even more tightly. The strong members of the Dragon Clan always had a sense of mutual understanding when it came to each other's strength. So why was there such a noticeable difference in their combat power during this battle? Her gaze slowly fixed on the crimson energy covering Long Yuan's clenched fist, and the sight made her pupils contract slightly. A chilling, eerie energy flowed from it. That's the power of Dragon Bone. Long Tian's expression grew even more serious. He never expected that the once rarely seen Dragon Bone would now appear on Long Yuan. During the reign of the Golden Dragon King, the Dragon Clan had been united, with a very fair system of rewards and punishments. This was the highest reward given during the reign of the Golden Dragon King, and one of the key methods that made the Dragon Clan the true overlords. However, after the Golden Dragon King disappeared and the Silver Dragon King took control of the Dragon Clan, even high-ranking figures like Long Tian, who had reached the quasi-ninth reincarnation stage, were unable to obtain Dragon Bones from the Silver Dragon King. Everything was at the whim of the Silver Dragon King. During the Silver Dragon King's rule over the Dragon Clan, various actions led to a stagnation in the clan's strength, and even caused its decline. 10,000 Blood Dragon Demon Lord, Crimson Fist Bone. After a moment, Long Yi's eyes filled with an expression of disbelief. He had clearly sensed the name of the Dragon Bone on Long Yuan's fist. Every piece of Dragon Bone was incredibly precious, with its own unique origin and name. The 10,000 Blood Dragon Demon, said to be a peak expert on the verge of entering the 9th reincarnation stage, once fought with all his might during the Great War of Heaven and Earth. With a single punch, he severely wounded a powerful expert at the 9th reincarnation stage. The Crimson Fist Bone, formed from the remains of such an expert, had immense value within the Dragon Clan. It was surprising that it had now been obtained by Long Yuan. With the enhancement of this Dragon Bone, even Long Tian's full-strength attack would likely face disaster. Within the same stage, there was hardly anyone who could withstand a destructive attack powered by Dragon Bone. Damn, I must find a way. Looking at the increasingly tense atmosphere around the two Grand Elders, Long Yi continued to observe their movements, while his mind raced through calculations. In terms of strength, he was no match for the mysterious figure before him. In terms of wisdom, he could not compare to Xiao Yan. But now, with the catastrophe imminent, how could he break this deadlock? Your opponent is me. While Long Yi was distracted, Zhu Kuan shouted sharply, and a fierce reincarnation aura erupted, directly clashing with the latter. But at this moment, Zhu Kuan was completely different from the old Dragon Emperor on the Do-Chi continent. Not only had his strength greatly increased, but his eyes now gleamed with a strange silver light, making him far more powerful than during his time on the Do-Chi continent. Dragon God Palm. Facing Zhu Kuan's ruthless attack, Long Yi felt immense pressure. He even had numerous cuts and wounds appearing on his body from the latter's strikes. Forced to move quickly, he released a surge of power from within, forming a vast reincarnation force in his palm and striking out. Zhu Kuan's strength was comparable to his, but his timing and control of the battle were so exquisite that Long Yi could not catch up. Long Yi knew that, in this battle, he had no chance of winning. Void Nether Claw. Zhu Kuan coldly snorted, and then raised his ancient hand. A mass of energy gathered around it, instantly expanding into an enormous claw, which tore through the void and lunged straight at Long Yi's chest. Boom! The two attacks collided silently, but Long Yi's strike quickly melted away. In contrast, the sinister killing intent on Zhu Kuan's face intensified, and the destructive power around him grew stronger. Long Yi, knowing he was no match for Zhu Kuan, immediately pushed his dragon chi to its limits, trying to break free from the restraints. The overwhelming destructive power shook his body, and a spurt of fresh blood flowed from his mouth. Long Tian Grand Elder. Breaking free from Zhu Kuan's terrifying claw strike, Long Yi quickly rushed toward Long Tian, as if he hoped to rescue him with his own body. How laughable! With a single punch from this Grand Elder, even Long Tian would be reduced to ashes. What can you, a mere insect, do? The radiance of the Dragon Bone on Long Yuan's fist grew increasingly blinding. He waved his hand, summoning Zhu Kuan to stand behind him, while his other hand reached out, binding Long Yi in place with a strange force from the void. A suffocating sensation began to permeate the space, slowly pressuring Long Yi's soul and body, causing his life to drain rapidly. To me, your power is like that of ants. Long Tian, I am giving you one last chance. I, the Grand Elder, have always been merciful and kind. Considering your position as a Grand Elder of the Dragon Clan, if you swear eternal allegiance to my master and willingly bear the dragon mark, I will ensure that your standing in the clan remains unshaken. Even with victory almost in hand, Long Yuan did not immediately strike the final blow. With Silver Dragon King's victory nearing, these top combatants of the Dragon Clan, if brought under his control, would greatly aid Silver Dragon King's future plans. You're dreaming. At that moment, Long Tian's expression remained calm. A strange fluctuation flashed in his deep eyes, but he didn't speak. Instead, Long Yi, bound by Long Yuan, mocked with a sarcastic grin. Long Yuan slightly turned his head, gazing at Long Yi's face filled with mockery and disdain. The murderous intent in his voice grew colder. With a firm grasp of his palm, a sound of bones shattering spread from Long Yi's body. Blood poured out uncontrollably from his eyes, mouth, nose, and even the pores of his ears, as if Long Yi were about to be completely buried here. Long Yuan, do you still remember why you cultivated? Watching this brutal scene, Long Tian felt a slight tremor in the usually silent void around him. To cultivate, of course, is for supreme power, for the highest glory. Are you trying to tell me that you cultivate for the sake of all living beings in the world? Long Yuan shook his head slightly in regret. From Long Tian's words, he clearly knew the latter's decision. I am different from you. The Golden Dragon King is the supreme dragon lord of our dragon clan. From the time of the first heavenly battle, I swore in secret that my life belongs to the Dragon Lord. Now, returning my life to the Dragon Lord is the best fate for me, the Supreme Elder. The Dragon God will die, but the Dragon God's will, passed down through the generations, will never be erased. Long Tian chuckled lightly, his words deep and unfathomable, which only fueled the murderous intent in Long Yuan's heart. Dragon God's will? That ethereal, intangible thing. Only someone as senile as you would believe in it. You're completely outdated. Long Yuan's face contorted in fury as he roared, You're just a greedy sinner, not worthy of being the supreme elder of the Dragon Clan. After saying those words, Long Tian's body, flesh, and even his soul began to stir. A destructive wave of energy, far surpassing the power of Long Yuan's dragon bones, slowly began to spread, like a seed slowly cracking open. Gulp. Long Tian, are you crazy? You would actually self-destruct? At this moment, seeing Long Tian's desperate act, Long Yuan's eyelids twitched violently. The supreme elder of the Dragon Clan, with his unparalleled strength at the quasi-ninth reincarnation stage, and his exalted status, he was a being revered across the great 1,000 worlds. Not to mention, no one understood better than them the immense struggles required to reach the quasi-ninth reincarnation stage. And now, Long Tian was willing to explode all his life and power just to protect the Golden Dragon King. This scene struck deeply at Long Yuan's psyche. If you're going to be this crazy, then I'll go mad with you. Dragon Bone. In an instant, two massive waves of power, almost reaching the level of a quasi-divine combat skill, began to converge. As for Zhu Kuan and Long Yi, the latter was lying on the ground, barely breathing, while the former stood not far behind Long Yuan, seemingly confused. In the Dragon God Square, the two immediately began gathering their lethal techniques, but despite the overwhelming force of the quasi-ninth reincarnation stage, even the destructive energy from their attacks couldn't shake the stability of the space here. The Dragon God Square's resilience was truly legendary. Meanwhile, the Silver Dragon King, stepping gracefully with elegant lotus-like steps, wore a confident and serene smile on his exquisite face. He gently held the purple-haired maiden's hand, leading her closer to the golden stone tablet. Xun'er, what's wrong? When they arrived in front of the golden stone tablet, a strange ripple suddenly emerged in the purple-haired maiden's calm purple eyes. Her delicate body twisted, and her gaze fixed on the intense battle between the four individuals in the distance. Especially, her eyes focused on Long Yi, who was lying on the ground, seemingly on the verge of death. As she stared at him, something long buried within her stirred slightly. It was a vague shadow, a presence that sometimes needed her help. In return, it would create all kinds of strange pills for her, and later, it would even offer her more assistance. He seemed like an older brother, providing her with meticulous care. It felt as if they had spent many good times together. Has the suppression of the crystal dust mystic realm weakened? Seeing the strange scene unfolding with the purple-haired maiden, the Silver Dragon King furrowed his brows and muttered to himself, "That person seems to carry an unfamiliar yet familiar aura." The purple-haired maiden stood frozen, her cherry-like lips barely moving, emotions surging in her heart. "What is that? It feels like I've forgotten something really important to me." Her beautiful eyes were fixed on Long Yi, and the purple dragon tail behind her swayed gently beneath her long dress. However, no matter how hard Long Yi tried to recall, he could still not remember anything. It was as if there was something important missing from his mind. "Xun'er, be good. Once this is over, your mother will personally accompany you to retrieve all the memories you've lost. Okay?" At that moment, the Silver Dragon King's eyes flickered with a trace of tenderness. After a moment, she smiled faintly, her voice as gentle as that of a loving older sister, soothing the trembling heart of the purple-haired maiden. Listening to the Silver Dragon King's soft voice, the purple-haired maiden's heart, which had once been in turmoil, slowly began to calm. Her gaze turned towards the golden stone tablet before her. Within the stone tablet, there seemed to be a power that resonated with her own. It seemed that her mother's purpose was to obtain that very essence. Golden Dragon King. In the next instant, the Silver Dragon King's smile grew increasingly sinister. She raised her long, colorful wrist and reached for the stone. Ryup. However, the Silver Dragon King's smile did not last long. As her arm touched the stone tablet, a powerful golden aura erupted from it, sending a cold, electric shock-like sensation through her wrist. A barrier? She quickly withdrew her arm, and the colorful elemental energy around her wrist vanished in an instant. Even the faint golden light seemed to burn her wrist like fire, causing the Silver Dragon King's eyelid to twitch. "This old fool. He's already discovered my plan." After a brief struggle, the Silver Dragon King's previously joyful expression twisted into one of fierce hatred, and waves of destructive power surged out of her body. Bullying, suppressing, insulting, whipping. That guy, the Golden Dragon King, is an irredeemable villain. Your mother is returning to take back what belongs to her. Xun'er, will you help your mother? Watching the Silver Dragon King's madness beside her, the purple-haired maiden couldn't help but recall the numerous instructions her mother had given her before they left. Her purple dragon tail flicked slightly, as if in hesitation. Her mother had always been kind to her, but why was there a faint voice inside her resisting everything her mother had said? Was the so-called Golden Dragon King really as evil as her mother claimed? "I have a way." In the blink of an eye, the purple-haired maiden's mesmerizing violet eyes flickered. She focused intently on the ancient, golden stone tablet before her. The defensive barrier around the dragon god's stone tablet was incredibly strong. Even someone as powerful as the Silver Dragon King couldn't break it in a short time. Upon hearing this, the Silver Dragon King's fury turned into joy. She quickly regained her usual gentle demeanor, leaning down to stroke the purple-haired maiden's long hair in an affectionate manner. Although the purple-haired maiden's strength was not great, she possessed unparalleled divine power related to the dragon god. Even the Silver Dragon King could only treat her gently and peacefully. If she tried to force her, the Silver Dragon King would likely suffer. After all, even the Silver Dragon King feared the dragon god's will within the maiden. But, is what I'm doing really right? After a moment, the purple-haired maiden lifted her delicate face, hesitating in her thoughts. She stood still, staring at the Silver Dragon King. The Silver Dragon King's instructions, combined with the subtle voice inside her, left the maiden at a loss. We are simply here to take back what is ours. The Silver Dragon King nodded calmly, but inside, her emotions were in turmoil. This girl, who was the most outstanding creation after countless reincarnations, would become the foundation for her to dominate the world. Everything they had done within the Dragon Clan would ultimately pave the way for her to control the heavens and the earth. Boom. Hearing the Silver Dragon King's affirmation, the purple-haired maiden nodded firmly. She quickly suppressed the subtle voice in her mind and raised her jade-like hand. Her fingertips were suddenly pierced by a sharp force, and a drop of purple blood slowly fell into the air, heading towards the golden stone tablet below. The moment the purple blood dripped onto the stone, a powerful, ancient aura resonated with the stone, as if responding to one another in a profound connection. In an instant, the purple blood formed a small, colorful dragon image that coiled around the stone. Even the impenetrable defense of the Golden Dragon King seemed to melt away like ice in the face of a blazing fire. Xun'er, let's go. In the next moment, the Silver Dragon King once again took the purple-haired maiden's hand, leading her as they slowly stepped towards the Dragon God's stone tablet. In the blink of an eye, the stone tablet flashed with radiant light, and the bodies and auras of the two individuals completely vanished, as if they had never been there. Within the stone tablet lies the resting place left by the Dragon God, and also the site where the Golden Dragon King had secluded himself for his life-or-death meditation. The dangers, or perhaps opportunities, inside are something no one could truly know. However, judging by the barrier above the stone tablet just now, it seems the Golden Dragon King had long anticipated some of the sinister schemes in the Silver Dragon King's heart, and had set up a grand defensive barrier around the Golden Stone Tablet. Unfortunately, the Silver Dragon King had been well prepared, with the presence of the purple-haired maiden. The Golden Dragon King's barrier was easily shattered. Now, with the Silver Dragon King and the mysterious maiden stepping inside, the Golden Dragon King's fate is likely to descend into irreversible destruction. The reason why the Dragon Clan has always stood at the peak of the Great Thousand Worlds, and during their prime, even surpassed the human realm and angel kingdom, equaling the power of the Xiao clan at its height, is largely thanks to the several Grand Elders and the Golden and Silver Dragon Kings. But now, the internal turmoil within the Dragon Clan has reached an unprecedented scale in terms of both number and strength. If either of these two Dragon Clan leaders is lost, it would deal a blow to their position as the rulers of the Dragon Clan. A blow so severe that it would be felt across the entire world. The Dragon Clan, a race that has long stood at the pinnacle of life in the Great Thousand Worlds, will likely face a monumental change today. One that will shake the heavens and earth. "Ah, you bastard!" Watching as the woman beside the Silver Dragon King so easily pierced the Golden Dragon King's supreme barrier, Long Yi could no longer contain his dwindling life force and let out a furious roar. It was as though he wanted to unleash all his remaining strength to stop them from entering. Even in his eyes, an uncontrollable madness surged. But what could he do now with his strength? It's over. Everything is over. It seems this entire situation was a plot by the Silver Dragon King. She was the one who instigated the Dragon Clan's internal strife and forced the Golden Dragon King into the Dragon Tomb. Her goal was likely to take advantage of the Golden Dragon King's weakness when he entered the Dragon God's steel to complete his seclusion, attempting to strike when he was most vulnerable. With the Golden Dragon King's life, she sought to steal the Dragon God's power within the steel, to complete her own transformation, and seize the legendary Dragon God's power to reign supreme over the heavens and earth. Just as Long Yi was desperately struggling, a magnificent red giant fist, accompanied by a blinding silver beam of destruction, suddenly materialized in the distance. The two unprecedented waves of destructive energy collided with each other in the Dragon God Square. The grand attack immediately collided, creating a scene of unmatched magnitude that made the soul tremble. Within the entire Dragon Tomb, countless long-dead dragon corpses seemed to awaken from a deep slumber, unleashing an unprecedented dragon roar in anger, as if they were trying to stop the two terrifying attacks from exploding. However, these dragon corpses, being long dead, could do nothing but emit faint, ethereal remnants of their former selves. They were easily destroyed by the power of the attack. Whoosh! The two quasi-divine combat skills swept through the area, causing no visible damage to the Dragon God Square, but the shockwaves they created were as lethal as the Scythe of Death itself, obliterating countless dragon corpses in the Dragon Tomb. Wherever the shockwaves passed, the dragon bodies were reduced to dust. The entire void within the Dragon Tomb seemed to shake under the overwhelming energy. The destruction of nearly half of the dragon bones was a devastating blow to the Dragon Clan. Splurt! As the shockwaves dissipated, Long Tian, who had been pushing the self-destructive power to the limit, began coughing violently, blood uncontrollably spilling from the corner of his mouth. The situation was spiraling out of control. Cough, cough. On the other side, Long Yuan's situation was no better. His limbs and body were loosening, and a chilling aura still lingered in his heart. Both sides are suffering? Long Yi and Zhu Kuan spoke together, their voices filled with astonishment. The power of their attacks was so terrifying, yet they were evenly matched. The self-destructive power combined with the dragon bone-enhanced attacks was a draw. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, a swift figure appeared at the entrance of the Dragon Tomb, like a beam of light breaking through the silence, rapidly charging toward the Dragon God Square. Behind this figure, several dazzling energy flashes followed, each containing formidable power. This aura, is it Long Feng? Seeing the approaching figure, Long Yuan twisted his battered body and smiled. Perfect timing. Long Tian tried to provoke my master's supreme authority, and now he even self-destructs, burning his life force. Quickly, strike, and obliterate Long Tian once and for all. Once the deed is done, everything he has will be yours. Although he was under the command of the Silver Dragon King, he was not as desperate as Long Tian, fighting with all his might. He merely wanted to buy time for the Silver Dragon King, hoping to enjoy endless wealth and glory once the Silver Dragon King unified the Dragon Clan. If he fought like Long Tian, he probably wouldn't live long enough to see that day. The powerful beings of the Dragon Clan, especially those at their level, would not perish immediately even if they self-destructed. What they destroyed was merely the Dragon Clan's foundation, their dragon body. Afterward, there was still the life flame. Once the life flame was extinguished, even a Doshin-level powerhouse would be powerless to save them. Only then would their body and soul truly be annihilated. Is heaven truly going to destroy our Dragon Clan? Looking at the solemn aura filling the light sphere, a dim flicker of flame was faintly dancing within the illusory soul of Long Tian. It was the life flame, and it represented his last hope. The desperate self-destruction had made Long Tian's situation even more perilous. Clearly, the time left for him was running out. Once the life flame in his soul burned out, he would be completely annihilated, body and soul. Watching the energy sphere in the distance, Long Tian's eyes slowly filled with madness. The power of the dragon bone was indeed formidable. Even with the sacrifice of his own dragon body, he couldn't completely erase his opponent. But now, outside the Dragon Tomb, without the protection of the Golden Dragon King, it was doubtful whether the allied forces of Basha Dragon King and others could hold off the Silver Dragon King's forces. The aura within the light sphere was not weak. The newcomer was likely another Grand Elder under the Silver Dragon King's command, Long Feng, at the half-step 9th reincarnation stage. Now, with his dragon body self-destructing and the life flame already burning, there was no turning back. Even so, he wasn't confident he could stop the two Grand Elders of the Silver Dragon King. This battle seemed to have been meticulously planned by the Silver Dragon King, with no flaws to exploit. Even if they gave their all, they would only be dying struggles. And the clever Golden Dragon King probably knew this would happen, bringing them here, stepping alone into the Dragon God Steel. Everything he did seemed to be in line with the Silver Dragon King's plan. The Silver Dragon King's scheme was flawless, but Long Tian knew the Golden Dragon King's nature. He was also gambling. Whether he would break through first, or the Silver Dragon King would make his move and succeed first. This gamble came at the cost of the entire Dragon Clan, but it was the only option left. Wait, this aura? In the midst of this hopeless situation, Long Yi's pupils filled with disbelief. His gaze was fixed on the shadow beginning to move within the light sphere. He gasped in surprise. That aura, that figure. It seemed so familiar. Long Feng? What are you waiting for? Feeling the figure within the light sphere unresponsive, Long Yuan snorted coldly, his voice clearly filled with anger. Had it not been for withstanding Long Tian's devastating self-destruction with his dragon bone fist, leaving him severely wounded, Long Yuan would never have so easily given the power of a quasi-ninth reincarnation stage powerhouse to Long Feng. Facing Long Yuan's icy anger, the light sphere gave no reply. Only a figure, seemingly thrown out like a dead dog, was sent flying backward. That feeling, as if kicked out casually, and the lack of any sign of life was chilling. Who is it? Show yourself. The figure flying out was Long Feng, his body completely shattered. Skin, flesh, even bones twisted as though some force had deformed him entirely. Even the legs, which once held dragon bones, now appeared hollow. He had already passed out, but his survival shocked Xiao Yan. After merging with the Golden Dragon King's essence blood, his strength had surged, yet he had only managed to half-kill Long Feng, not obliterate him. The power of Dragon Bones and Dragon Clan warriors was indeed formidable. My master, where is he? As the light sphere slowly faded, a figure bathed in golden light silently appeared beside Long Yuan. Golden eyes glowed with an indescribable fury. Gulp. The power of the Golden Dragon King? Who exactly are you? At that moment, unease slowly replaced Long Yuan's expression. He staggered back, cautiously positioning himself back-to-back with Zhu Kuan. This guy seems familiar? Zhu Kuan narrowed his eyes as he recognized the golden figure. A faint and distant memory surged from deep within him. Virum. Virum. Just as Xiao Yan was filled with rage, the soul jade deep within his imperial flame ring suddenly erupted with intense energy, gradually extinguishing the violent fury in his heart. Phew! The Golden Dragon King's essence blood is not so easy to consume. Xiao Yan trembled slightly, gradually returning to his usual demeanor. Wait, is this Senior Zhu Kuan? With the movement of the soul jade and the imperial flame ring, the golden ripples in Xiao Yan's eyes slowly faded, and his appearance gradually returned to normal. However, just as his gaze shifted, when he looked at the figure next to the Long Yuan, a flash of surprise appeared in his eyes. On the continent of Doqi, the old dragon emperor of the ancient Void Dragon clan, Zhu Kuan, Xiao Yan couldn't believe it. After searching for countless years without a trace of the old dragon emperor, he unexpectedly encountered him here. No matter what, this man was Ziyan's father. And now that Ziyan was missing without a trace, after the catastrophe here ends, Xiao Yan would have to try to use Zhu Kuan and his Dragon Clan aura to locate Ziyan's exact whereabouts. This aura, something's off. Has he been controlled? After a moment, Xiao Yan slowly shook his head, his immense soul power allowing him to sense things that ordinary people couldn't. Zhu Kuan, hold him off for me. I'll go inside and invite the Silver Dragon King. In an instant, Long Yuan gritted his teeth, attempting to rush toward the dragon god Steel. A coward like him wouldn't risk his life for the Silver Dragon King. At the moment, with Long Feng on the verge of death, it seemed the 5 Dragon Kings' allied forces outside had also been thoroughly defeated.